Hello and welcome to I Read Help Files, Build You Technical Trainings. And today we are going to deal with operation orchestration, scheduled reboots. I have a problem. I have a operational farm, a production farm that is getting abused by my users, and I need it to be rebooted every Sunday in the dead hours of some UTC morning time zone, so it would be ready for next users to use it every week. Otherwise, it would just get stuck, and I would know about it on time. So my solution is to use OO for that, and that is what we're going to do in this video. All right. So what exactly are we going to do? We will create a flow, test the flow, of course. Then we will import the package, schedule it for execution, and pray because we get to see the effect 1 week from now. But I trust the system. Okay, so let's begin. We'll go to our production farm right now, and we'll create everything from scratch, right? So I'll create a whole new folder just for that. I'm not going to reuse any templates or anything of that sort. I'm just going to create everything from the very beginning. So let's create a new folder. And let's name it somehow descriptively, something that makes sense for us. And what makes sense is Windows generic. No, not generic. Windows based product maintenance. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, that would explain it. So I'm not the only one to use it. So other people need to know how to use it too. So we go to our flow and let's give it some descriptive name as well. For example, reboot Windows server. That's not descriptive enough, but I'll take it, no worries. All right. By the way, the audio for the original audio for the video was lost, so if you see there's some asynchronicity here, that's because I'm re-recording it. It's the fastest way to do it. So what I'm doing here, I'm searching for a remote command that should serve my needs. So when you double click a command from a library, you can actually go to the description and see what it's all about. Or does it fit your needs? So we are looking for a Windows command, and this one supports all protocols. And to confirm it even further, I'm going to look at the valid values here, and it says WMI, which is exactly what I need in order to run the remote commands on my Windows server. So I say, yeah, that's fine. We go to search, and we will copy the command to our canvas. All right, just drag and drop it onto the canvas, my past Alexei. Right click and toggle it to a single response. So there would be no branching or anything for it to do if it fails. So I'd like to do those commands linear because I don't care if it has some kind of failure attached to it unless it just failed to accomplish, failed to complete. And the right way, I'm going into the inputs. I'm going to create the default inputs. As you see, I'm creating them with a prefix of ext, meaning that it's externally dictated parameters that can be brought in by integrations or command line executions or whatever, right? Because normally prompts or anything like that in flows would have it either embedded or would have a mechanism to ask you for details. But when they don't have this option, they would fail. And I do want to prep this thing for remote execution, let's say from OBM or whatever. I like to reuse stuff. I would like to create once and use it multiple times. And as you see, I'm already creating command number 2 and command number 3. And the point is, not all reboots are equal, right? Let's say I have a product that needs to be shut down before I reboot the server. I want to have this option right now. I'm building it into my flow, right? I don't want a single command flow because that would be really no point. And now I'm going to configure it and later I'll replicate it, right? So there, what we see is that I don't have a host name. I forgot to define the host name. So we'll go back to the properties of the whole flow over here, and we'll add this input. Now, you might notice that the inputs for the whole flow that we created, or for every single operation or subflow inside a flow, look exactly the same, with a difference of how much screen space they occupy, right? So when I double click it, it looks practically the same GUI, different parameters, and it occupies self screen space. So if you're new to O, that's something that you need to get used to it. Okay, the host name is set, port is not important, the password is going to be something, I don't know. Well, the username is XT2 username, and then we have the password. And I forgot to make the password sensitive. So I'm going to say sensitive data, and then it switches to value that would be replaced by asterisks. And I'm going to import the password. And I'm going to pull an Alexei, how it's called, using the root password because I have so many environments. So let's switch it to the current production environment. Okay, the password is very different. And come on, my past Alexei, make it right. Okay, there it is. And right away, I'm going to input some constants, right? So those are going to be Windows servers, so administrator, and the password is already set, and also the commands, the placeholder for command number 2 and number 3 are going to be sleep 5 seconds. That's all. Okay, and the initial command would be, well, eventually this would be shut down -R, -T10, basically 10 seconds. And that's how are we going to leave it for now. Because right now we're in design phase, so everything needs to be making sense. Of course, the testing itself would involve some iterations. Cool. So we go to the protocol over here, and we need to specify it. Now it's probably it's key sensitive. So when I embed the constant, I need to see how they write it. So it's WMI in all caps. You see, so it's very important to read the description. Remember, this is the I read help files channel, so I do read help files. All right, then we continue down the line to see if there are more prompts, unexpected prompts that we're going to encounter in this command. So I want to eliminate them. Here's the command. It's going to be command number 1. And then we're going to see what is going on down there. So as you see, there are many, many, many configurations that command the execution of this remote command, which is super nice because it's like one command to control them all. But the downside, of course, is all of those configurations. Some of them are pre-configured to be as prompts that might pop out later in the debug phase. So yeah, it's a little bit harder to work with initially, but in the long run, those commands do pay off pretty nicely. So here I'm replicating everything. I'm connecting them into a flow. All right. And now we just need to make it a little bit more visually appealing. So I'm going to align it horizontally. Okay, and then just to make sense of it, let's say remote command 1, remote command 2, remote command 3. Probably command is an accented way to say it, so I'm going to say remote command. All right, and we set it up, we configure the command to be matching its number. All right, there it is, more or less. So we are ready for the debug. And for debug, of course, we need to use a different command because if I would be shutting down or rebooting a server every time I test it, it would take ages. So I'll go to my Sitescope server because this is where it's going to be my testing ground. I'm going to close everything that bothers me at the moment. And I want to see if I have a temp folder on disk C. Because if there is no temp folder, I want to create it, of course, in order to have some, to avoid some clutter, basically, where I can place stuff that I am testing. So that's going to be temp with a capital T. All right, looks fine to me. And then we go to OO, and we specify the command, something very simplistic, very fast. So it's going to be echo, not Checo, echo. I'm real boy. Yeah, that's what we're going for here. And we're actually going to prepare it for multiple executions. So this is why I'm appending instead of replacing every single time with a single bracket. And we're going to put it in temp and what is it? OOTXT. Okay, that's going to be the test command. So when I run the command, I should expect to see a new file created in the disk C in the temp folder. So we are running the first debug, then it runs, and it prompts me for a host. So of course, because I did not input anything, any default value into the host name, now it would be prompting me for this host name every single time. Let me just go here and verify in the design if I did not forget to set the parameter in the flow itself. That could be a second reason, but I did set it properly. So what is going on? What is going on is that it has an alternative route. So it says either you assign it to me from external hostname, or I'm going to prompt the user to input it manually. And that's exactly what it's doing. So now it's going to do it for every single command, the three of them, because they're not inheriting the parameter one from another, which is completely fine. That's how it's designed. And if you want to make it differently, then of course we can configure it differently. So that's command number 2, and then it's command number 3. Basically, I'm just specifying the same thing. But also what you don't see, and my past Alexei doesn't see, is that I'm ignoring a few more prompts that should be eliminated. And here I'm checking it and it doesn't work. Why the hell doesn't it work? Okay, let's see. So to make it easier, okay, I'm reading the log, of course, to see, and I have a Java exception that says WMI does not accept return immediately value. Okay, it does not allow. So I go for the first thing that comes to my mind. I don't really care about return immediately, so I'm going to turn it off to see, and maybe that would solve the issue for me. So here I'm going to be just confusing a little bit, trying to figure out where the parameter is because they're not alphabetical. They shouldn't be alphabetical too. I mean, it's not good. And here in the description also, I'm trying to figure out where it says return immediately. And the funny part is that I'm pointing with a mouse most of the time on the right spot, but looking everywhere else. So I'm going to go up and down and spend like a minute trying to, well, not a minute, but still we'll try to figure out sometime where is the description, because I want to know if it works with yes or no, or does it work with true or false constant value, right? So because I need the syntax to be correct for to make the constant answer to this question. So I'm going back to the inputs to see maybe well, I see that it comes after timeout, so probably after timeout I should see the description for it. And then finally I'll notice where it is. Come on, past Alexis. Not Alexis, past Alexia, I don't know why you said that. Okay, and there it is. Okay, true or false. So return immediately. It's not supported, so I'm going to say false. So I'm going replacing it with a constant value. It's going to be false. And same is going to be true. Well, same is going to be configured for the other two commands, of course, because everything needs to be replicated. This is why I configured the first one and then I cloned them, right? Because otherwise you triple your efforts. I prefer to find those optimizations where I can and just speed up the process of everything that I create this way. So we go here and we specify the host name as well, just to stop typing and make the debug a little bit faster. And I'm going to run it once more. So now you see it still pops out with a message because it wants the run as sudo and pty. So those need to be turned off manually, same way as we did with the first command, with the first parameter. Otherwise, it would be just not executing the command remotely because it would be stopping in the middle of it, right? Okay, so now it doesn't work. And what I did here, I said, you know what? I'm going to replace the command. I want to make something else. So I'm going down the operations, operating system, Windows, and I find the Windows command. It's a little bit more elegant. It's not as versatile, right? It executes only Windows commands, but at least I know it works. So that's what I did. I just replaced it. So everything that I made is true except for the operator because I used a more or less versatile operator to make my life simpler here. So I replaced it and there's the file. So I know that the flow is working. Okay. So just to reiterate, the command is configured the same way. The operations are configured the same way. I just replaced the operation from the complex one that serves all protocols, and I put a generic one for just for Windows because it was just a little bit easier rather than trying to debug this one. Maybe it's outdated, maybe something that I made is wrong. I just use something that works. Okay, it's better to create two flows that work rather than debug one that doesn't, right? So there I put something in the description just in case I'm going to share it later. Sometimes people contact me and say, well, actually, do we have a flow that does something? And I, oh, you know what? I do. And here's my flow. Here's my exported package. You can reuse it. And this is why I use a description because that would prevent them from asking me a question once more, and that would speed up their work. Okay, quality, quality. That's how we do it. Also to remind to myself later what it does. Because when you configure it from OO, you don't see the flow configuration in a graphical form unless you run it already, right? But everything should be serving multiple purposes. So there I am exporting it to a proper package to my desktop. But so, and I'm doing it inside the RDP for OO, right? I RDP'd. I'm already connected to RDP that is connected to RDP of OO. And in order to take this package, I need to export it to the Windows host that actually opens the RDP. I know it's confusing, but nevertheless. And I'm going to log into OO. So I don't have it open in any other window. So probably I'll need to log in it in a new tab. So let's do just that. All right. And I'm going to pull an Alexei with a wrong password. No, don't update. Okay. The funny thing, I could just select it from the dropdown, but I'm so used to typing because I'm working with students so much that I need to type everything. Fresh browsers don't have any memory. So, okay, so we go to content management, content packs, and we upload the new pack, the new version of the pack that already exists. Now, if you notice, there are lots of components in those packs, and there's going to be a dedicated video for every component, like multi-command, parallel execution, whatever. Okay, we go into Flow Launcher. Let me just see how it looks like in remote commands over here. And there's the folder, there's the flow. Cool. So we are going to scheduler. And before I configure the flow, let's recap. So we created a flow that runs three separate commands. One of them is the one that we're going to use today, but two of them are placeholders with sleep 5-second kind of placeholder. And we exported the package and imported it into OO. And the point is that we want to create a schedule to reboot our Windows hosts. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a scheduled run for the sitescope host. So I need to verify that my OO server is running in UTC because when I'll specify the time zone, I want to not to be confused about where it is right now and how it should be executing those scheduled commands. Otherwise, it might reboot it in the middle of a demo presentation by one of our users, which is not nice, right? So now when I validated it, I'll go and I specify the parameters. So the host name is going to be sitescope. No, the command is going to be shutdown -R -T10. The external host name is going to be sitescope. There we have it. And then let's see the recurring pattern. So the scheduler here is really nice. It's much nicer than trying to work with a cron tab for Linux. Okay, weekly Sunday. Fantastic. So every week on Sundays, we are going to execute it every day and night, every well, every 12 in the morning, plus 5 seconds. And here we'll try to find the UTC time zone. And spoiler, I'm not going to find it because, oh, I don't know how this list was compiled. But yeah, the only logical thing for us is GMT. So GMT and UTC kind of interchangeable, more or less. And by checking the list twice, come to this conclusion. And here we go. Just scroll down. Okay. Just a reminder, this is a voiceover over something that did not record a voice previously. So I am looking at the past Alexa from 20 minutes ago, and I have a laugh. I'm having a laugh. All right, fantastic. So I created the schedule, and now I replicate it for Japan. And now all I need to do is just change the parameter. So it's going to be an auto reboot, basically rebooting itself because I want the OO to be rebooted, but with a 2 hour delay. So let's say in the future I'm going to add servers to the schedule. They are all going to be sitting on 12 in the morning, right? And I want the OO to be rebooted 2 hours after that, just in case, just so it would continue its operation over there. So there we have it. And now when I look at it, I see that I forgot to name them properly. So I need to have a distinguished name for each schedule. It's just more easy to distinguish those in the logs later. So yeah, so it's going to be a reboot Sidescope server weekly. And same is going to be done for the OO server. And I'm going to specify that it's auto reboot, basically self reboot, also weekly. Yeah, just 2 hours. So there will be no surprises. I'm not the only admin on the farm anymore. So I do want other people to know what I'm doing. So just to recap, we created the flow, tested the flow, imported the package, scheduled for execution, and now we pray that next week it would work. It should. It's a pretty simple mechanism that should always work. And I hope you like this video and, subscribe if you want to see more. I'll see you in the next one.